Hi Sagittarius, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your March 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12 card spread, and the way it works is each card represents a different house of the zodiac, starting with your sign in the first house all the way through to Scorpio representing the 12th house. And once we get through the main spread, we'll actually pull an oracle card as well for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used this month, for the main tarot deck, we have the Spirit Keeper's Tarot. For the oracle card, we'll be using Wisdom Oracle. And we're actually going to start the reading off of rolling those astrology guys we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, so we have the North Node. And the North Node is actually currently in Pisces. And we're actually going to have a full moon eclipse in Virgo, pretty much opposite that North Node, on the 3rd of March. So it makes sense to see that come up. But yeah, for you guys, Pisces is your 4th house of home, family, and home and family in general, I would say. We have Libra as well. So for you guys, Libra is actually your 11th house of friendship, groups, hopes, and wishes. Astrologically speaking, that area of the zodiac's pretty quiet right now, but that could still be a significant area of life for you guys this month. And we have 12. So 12th house energy for you guys is Scorpio. Again, that's another area of the zodiac that's quiet right now, but definitely feel some ripple effects in that area of life as well. In general, 12th house points to spirituality, blind spots, and mental health. So we'll keep all that in mind as we go through the main spread. So for the first house, which points primarily to personality, self-awareness, appearance, we have the Archangel of Glory. And in this deck, it's referred to as the Angel of Art and Grace. So really this is the equivalent of the King of Wands, which is a Leo energy. So could just be saying that you might feel a creative spark this month. For you guys, Leo is actually your natural 9th house as well, and you guys as Sagittarius are the natural rulers of 9th house energy in general. So could just be saying that you might feel reinvigorated as well this month. In the second house, which points primarily to possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the 10 of Swords. So this is actually Gemini energy here. We get that focused. There we go. And yeah, obviously this is a pretty intense energy to see. So it could just be saying that you might feel like there's a setback financially, or at the very least when it comes to your mentality around finances, there could be a setback. Now, naturally, if it's reflected in your outward reality, that could impact how you feel about it too, right? But that's what I'm seeing there. It could just be saying that maybe there's going to be some kind of a setback around your finances. Now, given that it is still a sword energy, it might not have a true, tangible impact in your reality, but it could just be, let's say, it might be more likely where there could have been conversations around some financial deal, and maybe those conversations fall apart, right? To where, okay, it might not directly impact your pockets in the now, but maybe there was a future projection that now you have to figure out how to work around it. For the third house, which points primarily to communication, short journeys, and siblings, we have the 7 of Swords. So seeing this here, this is Aquarius energy for one, which actually does represent your house of communication, but I feel like this is saying primarily with this to take what you hear with a grain of salt this month, which makes sense anyway, as far as we're about to start Mercury retrograde in Pisces. So even though that's your 4th house, that could just be saying that, yeah, just be mindful of what you're hearing this month, because it might lack some accuracy, right? People might be trying to pull one over on someone else, right? So maybe that could be part of what this 10 of Swords is about there. You might come to a realization that, hey, maybe this financial deal you were thinking of going into, now you realize that, oh, okay, this person actually was stacking the deck in their favor, and the deal wouldn't actually work out evenly between the two of you, so that might be what causes the ending there. But either way, I feel like this is saying just be mindful of what you hear this month and try not to put too much weight on it. So for the 4th house energy, we have the Archangel of Healing. So this is actually the equivalent of the King of Cups, which is a Scorpio energy. And for you guys, that is 12th house. So to see this energy coming up in your 4th house could just be saying that when you're in your home environment, you might actually feel like that's where you do get to tune back in, right? Maybe feel like any residual impact, especially of this Ten of Swords energy you might be feeling, might start to dissipate, right? You might start to look at things through a different lens at that point and realize that, you know, you can learn from the experience and use it in your favor down the line. Which would make sense too, given that we also have the North Node there. And for somebody to even just be saying maybe some healing around family. However, healing a connection with them, or possibly them helping with your healing process, maybe even just looking back on something from your childhood that might have still had an impact on you and viewing that in a more positive light, but definitely a strong energy to see there. All right, so in the 5th house, which represents romance, creativity, and children, we have the 7 of Orbs. So this is a Taurus energy here. So yeah, could just be saying that maybe you guys are trying to figure out what to do next around something. So it could just be saying that maybe you feel like there's a creative project that might have hit a bit of a stumbling block, right? You might be trying to decide, do you still want to put more energy and resources toward it? Or do you want to just scrap it all together, right? But I feel like this is saying that for a lot of you, you might ultimately decide to continue with it, right? But you just might have to reimagine how you go about it. Given that we see this card is referred to as the gardener, I feel like this is saying that, you know, you might come to the realization like, okay, I planted these seeds a long time ago. Maybe they're not sprouting as early as I would like, but I feel like I've put enough into it to where I just don't want to completely abandon the idea. I just might need to figure out how best to work it out. All right, so for the 6th house, which points to health, work, and daily routines, we have the Initiate. So this is the equivalent of the Fool in traditional tarot. There's actually 3 different Fool cards in this deck. This one is referred to as the Spirit in Search of Experience. So yeah, so for some of you, this could just be saying that maybe around your work lives, right? If there is something, especially if you feel like you hit a stumbling block with a creative project of some kind, could just be saying that now maybe you do want to get out and explore, right? See whatever options are available to you out there. So, and I feel like that somewhat ties into what I was saying with the Archangel of Glory energy in the 1st house, to where you might just feel reinvigorated and feeling an energy of wanting to explore a little bit this month. 7th house energy pointing to partnerships, contracts, relationships. We have the Force. This is the equivalent of the Strength card in traditional tarot. So yeah, so seeing this here for you guys, Leo energy is your natural 9th house, but to see it here in the 7th, could be saying a couple different things. That maybe when it comes to how you approach relationships, maybe you're going a little bit of an overhaul there, right? Maybe you're realizing that, okay, maybe when it comes to partnerships, relationships, maybe you let ego get in the way at times, right? So you could just be suppressing that now. Maybe you're looking at possibly what you were drawn to in others, right? So maybe you're letting lust drive you more toward connections than actual real true compatibility, right? Things like that there. So you could just be looking at these things and figuring out how best to move forward. But whatever avenue it's taking, I feel like this is saying ultimately you're well equipped to handle it in a positive way. All right, so for the 8th house, which points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Empress. So for some of you, this could just be saying that maybe, speaking of what we were saying with Gardner, right, maybe seeds that you planted a long time ago are actually starting to pay off now, or at the very least, you'll see signs that that could be the case, right? So I feel like this is saying that now work that you've done in the past, you might start to see payoff from that coming to you in the present. And if not now, maybe as we get closer to Taurus season, given that the Empress energy usually does point to Taurus energy to an extent. All right, so in the 9th house, which represents philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have the 10 of Scepters. So this is actually one of the cards representing your sign. You see your symbol there. And this deck is referred to as the Burden one. So yeah, so it could just be saying that maybe when it comes to that area of life, philosophy, higher learning, foreign affairs, right? Maybe you feel like you've taken on too much, right? Maybe you almost have information overload, right? To where you're like, okay, now I don't know what to believe here. So you could just be trying to pare that down. Um, Maybe you just have too much going on in those areas of life. So, super generic example, right? When we say higher learning, if you're, let's say, if you're in school but also trying to work at the same time, right? It could be a bit overwhelming, and you're trying to figure out how do I juggle it all. But yeah, on a more positive sense, usually this is going to reach a completion point. So whether it's you just finally realizing that this isn't sustainable and deciding to ditch it, or you're just really close to the goal to where you say, you know what, let me just push through since I'm so close to the finish line. It looks like this is an indicator of change coming soon. All right, so in the 10th house, which points primarily to career and social status, we have the 10 of orbs. So this is Virgo energy here, which is your natural 10th house of career and social status. So this is definitely a good thing to see here, especially seeing that 10 of swords energy in the second house. I feel like this is saying that, yeah, even if there is some kind of a setback with finances, I feel like it won't really impact you in the long run. Seeing this here is definitely a strong indicator that either you're already on a path that's going to last for a long time to come, or if this is a more tangible setback you'll experience, that will just put you on the path to this better pathway in the long run anyway. All right, so for your 11th house, which represents friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have the Three of Swords. So this is Libra energy here, and for you guys, that is 11th house energy. And seeing this here, this does remind me of the fact that there actually will be a full moon in Libra. Technically, it'll be on April 1st, depending on where you are in the world. So even though this is a March reading, it could just be pointing to that energy, right? That something that might take place during this month might have that ripple effect into April. But if that's the case, again, like I said, I feel like maybe it's some level of disappointment, right? Where maybe someone that you thought you could have trusted, right? You were entering into a deal potentially with them around finances in some way, and then realizing that, okay, I was approaching this from a position of let's be equals here, right? Let's do a win-win, and coming to the realization that the other party involved is trying to really get the upper hand and not really worrying about equality in that regard. And for the 12th house, which points to spirituality, blind spots, mental health, we have the Four of Chalices. So yeah, in this deck it's referred to as the Hollow Void. So I feel like this is just you guys maybe looking at what you do on a day-to-day basis, right? And asking yourselves like, does this really still suit me, right? So it could just be one of those things where you're realizing, right? So for example, maybe where you are now, you have the financial backing that you need, but you might feel like there's a lack of actual emotional connection to the work, right? And you might feel like, oh, maybe that wasn't important for you at one point in life, but now it's something you do value more, right? Maybe it is something where you want to have more meaningful experiences in your day to day. So some of you could just be reevaluating the path you're on and seeing if it still fits with you or if there's something more out there for you. All right. And bottom of the deck, we have the Reaper. So this is the equivalent of the Death card in traditional tarot, which is a Scorpio energy. For you guys, that is your 12th house. We were just talking about that there, right? So yeah, so for some of you might actually be abandoning something that maybe was just replaying in your mind for a while, right? You might have had some questions around something, and this could be the month where you finally shed that, right? Where you feel more definitive, where if you just say, nope, that's not the case for me and just leave it behind, or if you feel reinvigorated to say, actually, yes, this keeps coming back in my mind for a reason, I want to go forward and pursue it. So, of course, this looks like an ominous card, but in this regard, I feel like it's more of you just dropping something that's been replaying in your head over and over. But we'll see what the Oracle card adds to the mix. So, like I mentioned, we're going to pull a card from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. I'm just going to give this a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. take this card. Let me get this out of the way, and we'll see what you guys got. All right, we have Not For You. There's the artwork, and the number is 6. So yeah, this, before I even read through the messages, makes me feel like I said, there could be a deal that you were close to getting into, right? Then you might realize that it's actually not a good fit for you, and you might actually have to leave it behind. But again, like I said, I feel like there would still be disappointment around that, because you might have felt like this was someone that you could trust, right? And that you could have trusted to really work out something that would be a win-win situation, whereas, like I said, maybe they were just more looking out for themselves, and that could be where that disappointment lies, especially if this is someone that you considered a friend, things along those lines. But yeah, let's see what it says. All right, essential meaning says, a clear knowing that something is being denied you. Rejection is God's protection. The Oracle's message: there are times when it appears that no matter how deeply you desire something, no matter how hard you work at something, the result you seek always seems to elude you. It's as if you don't really get to be in the game, and you feel you're just watching from the sidelines. The appearance of this card indicates that you are not going to attain what you want right now, that indeed, your dreams for that exact thing will not be fulfilled. This is a time to radically accept that not everything is available to you when you want it. Take heart, for there are benevolent forces who desire the best for you and have a much clearer idea of what is for your highest good. Rejection is God's protection. Something much better that will make you truly happy is on its way. Trust this. Yeah, definitely an interesting message there, because that does make me think back to what we were saying as well, as far as there's going to be a full moon eclipse in your 10th house, right? So that could be a pretty powerful energy in of itself. But again, sounds like it'll work out for your highest good, regardless of how it impacts you in the moment. The relationship message says, some relationships carry an innate seed of failure in them that is obvious from the beginning, but the red flags escape your observation, or you refuse to acknowledge them. When a relationship is not meant to be, it's not possible to make it be. Rejection is a sign that you're being protected by the divine. If you are the one who must reject another, remember that you do so for both your sakes. For every pot there is a lid. This one may not be the best fit. So that definitely takes me back to what I was saying with the force energy in the 7th house, right? Where, like I said, maybe you're reevaluating how you view partnerships. So like I said, for some of you might have come to the realization that, oh, you know what, maybe I was letting more of a lustful situation lead me toward a connection versus actual true compatibility, things along those lines there, or maybe others doing something similar with you, right? So you could be coming to some realizations around that this month. All right, the prosperity message says you can strategize and project and systemize and invest all your time and energy, but sometimes your best laid plans seem to go awry in spite of it all. Keep in mind that no effort is wasted. Fail fast and learn from defeat. Then keep going. You will eventually succeed, although perhaps not at this game, not at this time. Know when to fold your cards. So yeah, fail fast and learn from defeat. Kind of brought me back to what I was saying as far as with that 10 of swords, wherever in your 2nd house, that I was saying, even if it is a more tangible setback, seeing the 10 of orbs in the 10th house to me says that even if that's the case, it seems like it would just set you on a better path in the long run anyway. Doesn't make it any less annoying in a moment, I'm sure. But if that is the case, hopefully this message resonated with you, and we'll wrap up there. All right, bye.